Welcome to Dinar Trend Tracker channel. Is the long-awaited global currency reset finally starting?
Many investors may have been waiting for this moment, and it finally arrived today. Surprising reports emerged that US banks have officially finished Tier 1 redemptions. According to those in the know, this is a huge step forward that might pave the way for the next big thing in global currency exchanges. You should be paying great attention to the current events if you have been following the Iraqi Dinar story or holding any foreign currency with the expectation of a revaluation. This special report will explain the meaning of Tier 1 redemptions, the possible effects on the Iraqi Dinar, and the following steps according to experts. If you want to know why this is being hailed as one of the most significant financial signals in recent memory in the realms of international banking and currency exchange, then you should stick around until the end of the movie. Tier 1 entities are the most influential and powerful, including the largest banks, central banks, and government-affiliated organizations. This is not a little, neighborhood deal. These are huge shifts in the value of money at the institutional level. When high-level organizations have finished trading or settling their foreign currency positions, insiders say Tier 1 redemptions are complete. Because these top-level activities frequently establish the stage for subsequent events in the financial chain, they are of paramount importance. Imagine it as a domino impact that has just begun. After Tier 1 finishes their operations, the next tiers may be in line, Tier 2, Tier 3, and finally, regular investors like us. This is the reason for all the buzz and anticipation surrounding the completion of Tier 1 redemptions. Multiple banking insiders have begun to subtly corroborate that significant redemptions have occurred within some of the biggest U.S. institutions, and this news has spread across the worldwide financial community. There may not be any official announcements out there just yet, but the amount of stories coming in from all throughout the nation is too high to ignore.
Internal communications have been brought up by bank personnel. System updates have been mentioned by a few. Some have noticed shifts in the management of substantial foreign currency accounts. One conclusion emerges from all of these parts.
Behind the scenes, a major event is unfolding.
In the past, this kind of behavior has been an indicator of impending larger financial shifts.
Systems and liquidity frameworks are currently being prepared to manage the smaller, more public-facing levels, assuming Tier 1 has previously been completed.
The next wave of currency action could be far closer than anyone imagined, according to this. The Iraqi Dinar holders have been eagerly awaiting any indication of genuine action for a long time.
Iraqis have held out hope that their currency will one day represent the country's vast oil reserves, expanding economy, and prospective revaluation, or RV.
Decades of reconstruction have befallen Iraq. A lot of things, nevertheless, have been steadily improving.
Their energy production has been on the rise, and they have been strengthening regional alliances and entering into new trade deals.
A stronger national currency may be possible in the future if the current economic trends persist.
If confirmed, the completion of Tier 1 redemptions could indicate that the necessary technological and financial infrastructure is being established for such revaluations. This won't magically make things better for investors right away, but it could signal that we're becoming serious about being ready. We can now discuss potential designs for Tier 2.
The second tier consists of smaller and medium-sized banks as well as a few private wealth management companies. Once the initial high-level liquidity changes have been made, these organizations typically follow Tier 1. The redemption and settlement procedures for Tier 2 would commence after Tier 1's completion, assuming the former is genuine. To connect larger institutions with more localized exchanges, smaller financial networks can be involved in this stage.
The process moves more swiftly down the chain after Tier 2 is complete, with each step bringing the possibility closer to private investors. Keep in mind that these changes are usually planned, tracked, and scheduled with great precision. At this very moment, the clock might be ticking for Tier 2 to begin, as the completion of each tier signifies readiness for the subsequent stage. How this development relates to the larger idea of a global currency reset is one of the most discussed parts of it all. A concerted financial adjustment may be on the horizon, according to several experts, following years of fluctuating prices, inflation, and changing trade dynamics. One of the first observable stages toward that bigger reset might be finishing Tier 1 redemptions. When the largest financial institutions settle their holdings, they gain the security and flexibility to deal with impending shifts in exchange rates. The Iraqi dinar and other minor currencies might be hit hard if world markets are getting ready for modifications. This is why there is a lot of interest in these developments. Many are waiting for this stage to be the start of something much larger. Now is a good time to examine the current state of the Iraqi dinar. Iraq is still one of the most resource-rich countries in the world, especially when it comes to oil and gas. The government has made efforts in recent years to bring its financial system up to date, strengthen its trade links, and entice international investment. A stronger national currency requires all of these things. Yet, reevaluation is not a one-time occurrence. It calls for concerted action on a global scale, solid domestic leadership, and robust fiscal policy. If Tier 1 redemptions by U.S. institutions have truly been finalized, it may indicate that the world's financial system is preparing for potential modifications, which may involve Iraq. Reassessment may take some time, but progress is being made, which may indicate better times to come. What does this imply for regular people who invest? It may be prudent for anyone in possession of Iraqi dinar or other foreign currency to remain vigilant and well-informed at the moment. When Tier 1 is complete, it usually means that the first round of testing, auditing, and liquidity setup is complete. After then, a scheduled staggered rollout through the lower tiers is usually what follows. Keep your cool, don't act in a frenzy, and wait for official confirmation before making any investment decisions. Bear in mind that the largest financial institutions are typically the ones that wait until they are completely ready before these kind of massive financial transformations make headlines. Consequently, major shifts may be taking place covertly even though the news isn't quite ready to report them just yet. Being well-informed and patient is more important than ever before because of this. Experts in the banking industry have also noted that numerous financial systems have undergone major modifications as of late. Foreign currency transaction processing, digital exchange platform modernization, and specialist department staff training are just a few of the many areas that have been updated. New operational procedures are likely in the works when such extensive updates happen all at once. Rumor has it that new currency rate systems are already in the testing phase, according to certain insiders. It would be impossible to confirm each of these claims, but the pattern is obvious. Major changes are imminently apparent based on the current level of activity in the financial industry. Instead of wondering if anything is happening, they are now more concerned about when exactly these changes will be noticeable to the general public. The larger global financial context in which this is happening must also be taken into account. High inflation, extremely variable interest rates, and persistent political unpredictability are putting a huge strain on economies around the globe. The trade policies and currency alliances of major nations are currently under intensive review. In addition, central banks throughout the world are rethinking the mechanics of international money transfers and investigating potential new digital currencies. Massive revaluations of currencies are not only feasible, but likely inevitable in this setting. To restore economic equilibrium on a global scale, they may actually be an essential step. Since these worldwide changes are imminent, the completion of Tier 1 could be a crucial first step in getting the whole financial system ready for them. Though it's too soon to tell how this will affect any one currency in particular, the coordinated effort indicates that global financial systems are preparing for a major economic shift. Skeptics will inevitably warn investors to be wary and cautious. Major, comprehensive revaluations are extremely unusual occurrences that necessitate extensive planning, as many financial professionals often point out. Furthermore, they make a valid point in pointing out that Iraq still has internal problems including deep-seated political differences and heavy dependence on oil profits, which might make a huge overnight revaluation very unlikely. But even these doubters in the banking sector agree that the present state of the industry is quite uncommon. Something very significant is likely already underway, given the regularity with which reports of Tier 1 completions have surfaced, the breadth of software updates, and the documented adjustments to currency monitoring. This is clearly a time that requires careful consideration, regardless of whether it leads to a complete reassessment or just signifies a phase of global restructuring. We can now speculate about what could happen next. If Tier 2 is launched shortly, smaller banks will likely start getting ready for client-level exchanges. Public displays of exchange rates may be updated, redemption procedures may be revised, or particularly large foreign currency transactions may be temporarily restricted as a result of this preparation. It is reasonable to anticipate and accept all of these as indicators of readiness. The completion of Tier 2 usually signals the beginning of Tier 3. Encompassing substantial investment circles and influential private exchange organizations. Tier 4 is the last tier before individual holders and retail investors are involved. The entire evolution is meant to be slow, but once the first tier is formally certified as complete, the procedure usually speeds up. Does this structured sequence already begin from the very beginning? That is the primary question that many people are currently addressing. At this time, it appears like the answer could be yes. And further striking finding is the extreme degree of cooperation that is needed for carrying out such a complicated, multi-stage procedure. Significant regulatory supervision of large-scale currency transactions is required by major international financial authorities, a number of government agencies, and central banks. It is quite unlikely that this event can take place without careful planning at the highest levels. Tier processing's highly organized, sequential design provides clear evidence that this essential coordination is already underway at the most advanced stages. The many claims of Tier 1 completion are far more credible in light of this information alone. There would be no regular patterns of system updates and insider confirmations across several independent financial hubs if the reports did not have any fundamental validity. These current events are extremely well organized, which makes one wonder if the world's financial system is subtly but surely preparing for changes that might be historic in scope. We must not forget the significance of digital money and the evolution of the financial sector. New, more secure, and quicker transaction technologies have been adopted by worldwide banks in recent years. Not only do these updates boost efficiency, but they also make it easier to rapidly allow cross-border payments and change currency rates. Therefore, it is quite probable that digital infrastructure changes were important to the completion of Tier 1 redemptions. This could indicate that the system is now prepared to deal with higher levels of currency activity. This is more good news for investors who are keeping a careful eye on the market. It appears to be moving along slowly but surely, maybe at a faster rate than most people think. Additionally, we need to acknowledge that the greatest enigma is still the timing. Regardless of the veracity of the information provided, the exact start of the subsequent tier remains a mystery. Or when the general public may expect to see any noticeable improvements. Countless factors, including political agreements, regulatory clearances, and global market circumstances, depend on economic transformations like these. However, we can state that there appears to be increasing momentum. When government agencies remain silent, it's not always because nothing is happening. It denotes getting ready. And if there's one thing we can learn from the past, it's that when the big financial players make their moves, the rest of us feel the effects in due time. Because of this, the following several weeks will be actively monitored by investors. Currency investors and holders of dinar should maintain a level head at this time. Both hope and realism are vital. Some people have speculated online that a revaluation will be far more drastic than it actually is. On the other hand, holders with a longer time horizon may still benefit significantly from a little increase. The prudent thing to do is to keep yourself updated. Make sure your money is secure and be ready for anything. But you should never put more money on the line than you can afford to lose. There is usually some degree of unpredictability involved in currency speculation. At this point in time, what matters most is that, after a long period of inactivity, there are visible indications of change and action at the highest echelons of the financial industry. A lot of investors are also talking about how their local banks have made few modifications. Some have noticed that tellers now react differently when asked about foreign currency, while others have spotted new ways to check the legitimacy of notes. These may appear to be little details, but taken as a whole they indicate readiness. Greater public involvement may be possible if financial institutions take greater steps to get ready. The current level of effort is exceptional compared to prior years, regardless of whether it results in a comprehensive examination of the Iraqi dinar or a more gradual adjustment. Importantly, progress is being made. Perhaps not in the open yet, but undoubtedly in the background. There is still one unanswered question when we conclude our study. Is this the stage that investors have been waiting for all these years to finally arrive? Reports indicate that Tier 1 redemptions are already complete, therefore the financial sector is clearly setting up for a big event.
It seems like something major is happening tonight in the world of global currencies. People who own Iraqi dinars or Vietnamese dong may find fresh significance in this moment. It has been stated that plans are afoot to establish a network of exchange centers devoted solely to these currencies across multiple locations. Collectors and investors who have followed this story for a long time are quite interested in the reports. This is a question that many are now pondering. May tomorrow mark a watershed moment for the exchange of foreign currencies? The current discussions, their possible effects, and the information that all currency holders should have before acting are all covered in this special report. Stick around. What you think about the scenery of dinar and dong might change after these few minutes. The world's currency market has changed, however subtly, over the past few months. Several less traded currencies have started to get new attention as economic institutions adjust to new global realities. Speculative holdings like the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong are making a comeback in the minds of currency observers. According to sources, some financial networks have been experimenting with new exchange systems that can process large amounts of transactions with more security and verification. Major banks have not yet confirmed the rumors, but they have stoked a lot of interest among investors looking for a more streamlined way to trade their assets. The supposed facilities are supposedly specialized centers designed to handle the verification and conversion of foreign currencies with high value. They supposedly use sophisticated authentication methods, the same kind of procedures utilized by monetary authorities to verify the authenticity of notes. Experts in the field of foreign currency evaluation and compliance procedures would staff these centers. There is reasonable optimism among dinar and dong holders on the possible introduction of such venues. Promising easily available and securely hosted exchange services is a step in the right direction after years of waiting for organized, clear choices. However, keep in mind that not all reports about redemption sites on the internet have been confirmed by official government or banking sources. We hope that today's report will be useful in separating factual news from conjecture. According to certain online comments, the suggested facilities might start limited operations tomorrow. This might be the beginning of a testing phase before a bigger deployment. Soft launches are the norm for financial institutions when introducing new initiatives of this kind. These allow for the participation of small groups of users while the systems are tested for security and performance. This methodical procedure guarantees the dependability of operations prior to complete rollout. Anyone planning to go to one of the listed places should double-check all of the information with reputable banks or other confirmed communication methods, in preference to using forwards or internet lists that aren't verified. The exchange process is expected to include typical compliance measures, assuming these centers operate as indicated. Evidence of residency, government-issued identification, and, in some instances, evidence of original currency transaction, would be required of participants. All transactions must comply with anti-money laundering standards, and these steps help with that. Depending on the amount of the transaction, consumers can choose to receive payment via wire transfer, direct deposit, or check once verification is complete. The patience and preparedness needed by currency holders is warranted by the fact that larger exchanges would inevitably undergo more thorough scrutiny. The integrity and openness of the process depend on these protections. Officially sanctioned exchange centers have long appeared like a utopian ideal to many dinar and dong holders. There is new optimism at last, after years of tracking unsubstantiated claims and fluctuating currency rates, thanks to the possibility of authorized controlled sites. On the other hand, financial experts stress the need of maintaining a healthy dose of realism with optimism. A currency's market value is not solely determined by the construction of exchange facilities. That assessment is conditional on more general economic variables including monetary stability, trade performance, and fiscal policy. If they want to make smart and prudent investments, they must grasp these basics. A more sophisticated and stable Iraqi financial system has been emerging over the past few years. The government's priorities include attracting international investment, enhancing regulatory control, and making banking operations more transparent. Though rigorous, these changes lay the groundwork for long-term expansion. By embracing digital transformation, improving financial infrastructure, and increasing access to global markets, Vietnam has also sought modernity. Both currencies have recently attracted a lot of interest, which might be explained in part by these developments.
Talks about the future's possibilities are sure to continue as long as countries keep strengthening their financial systems, which in turn inspires confidence among investors. A word of warning to individuals who are trying to track down these purported exchange centers: proceed with caution. These days, it seems like everywhere you look, you can find lists and registration forms that say they can put you in touch with legitimate exchange sites. You should always use official financial channels to confirm such information. Recognized financial institutions or government portals will be associated with any formal registries that do exist. Always use secure HTTPS web domains, verify official phone numbers, and stay away from platforms that don't use encryption. Being vigilant is vital for protecting personal and financial data, as increased interest often draws fraudulent behavior. Equally crucial is familiarity with the legal mechanics of valid foreign currency activities. Strict anti-money laundering regulations are in place in most jurisdictions for currency exchanges that surpass a specific threshold. This includes accurate reporting to regulatory agencies, thorough recording of transactions, and full identification verification. Authentic centers keep open records and provide authentic receipts for all purchases. A red flag should be raised at any offer that guarantees exclusive or private exchange chances at discounted rates. Honest banks are not secretive, they are publicly accountable. Looking back at the history of these currencies can help us understand their enduring appeal. After the war, Iraq restructured its economy, and investors bet that the dinar would rise in value as the country's reliance on oil grew. Gains in Vietnam's manufacturing exports gave the Vietnamese dong a similar sense of optimism. Both currencies eventually became the center of speculation. The currency markets, on the other hand, are structured according to rigid economic rules, not predictions made on the internet. It is more prudent to analyze the factors influencing exchange rates, such as supply and demand, inflation, and fiscal policy, than to try to predict them. Those in possession of currency should prioritize preparedness and paperwork. Be sure to save all of the original documentation that came with your possessions, including receipts, authenticity certifications, and serial numbers. Keeping your records in order will safeguard your interests and speed up any legal verification process. For further clarification and to make sure you're not breaking any national regulations, it's a good idea to see a skilled financial advisor who specializes in foreign currency issues. Investors benefit from expert advice when dealing with the risks and rewards of currency exchange, particularly during periods of high activity or rumor. With conjecture on the rise, it is more important than ever to communicate and report with certainty. Reputable financial institutions or official government channels will most likely issue statements tomorrow in the event that any legal trials or openings take place. Instead than depending on anonymous online forums, watch respectable economic news channels for updates that can be verified. Verifiable sources, not screenshots or unconfirmed claims, are the hallmark of genuine news. Their first performance will be closely monitored if these exchange centers start operating, even in a limited capacity. Institutional transparency, operational security, and consumer experiences should all be top priorities for investors. This platform, along with other well-established financial publications, will maintain its impartial reporting on all developments. The public and the financial sector can establish trust through transparency over the long run. Whatever tomorrow brings, be it a major shift or a little baby step, the message is the same. The value of preparation outweighs that of guesswork. Tax obligations should also be considered by those who own currency. A taxable event may occur in many countries when a foreign currency is converted into domestic monies. Capital gains reporting may be required for gains, depending on the regulations of the country in question. Keeping meticulous records streamlines paperwork and guarantees compliance. If you want to avoid problems in the future and have peace of mind, consult a tax expert who is knowledgeable in foreign exchanges. Adherence to financial regulations is an important part of responsible investing, which goes beyond the exchange itself. Anxiety and excitement should live side by side as the expectation grows. Extreme shifts in the financial markets occur infrequently.